got some exciting new God of War Ragnarok news this past week. As some of you may know, God of War Ragnarok has officially gone gold. Time to celebrate! Going gold means that the game is being ripped onto discs and is being manufactured so that we can all get this shiny new game in our hands on November 9th. This can't come soon enough for me as a longtime fan of the series since the very first one debuted in 2005. I can't wait to see what the team at Santa Monica Studio has in store for us when we get our hands on it, and as another reminder to you all, if I get 1,000 subscribers before the end of October, I will be giving away 2 copies of the game as a way to say thank you for all the awesome support. More details to follow if we meet that goal. In addition to the game going gold, we have some more insider information. This time, it's about the factions, or what I call the types of characters that will be present in God of War Ragnarok. Now, these aren't characters with actual names, like we don't know if Seiðr will be in the game, although I believe he will. Rather, these factions are categories or ledgers to appropriate and sort the types of characters, be it friend or foe, into their respective categories. Hope that made sense and didn't make your head spin. So let's go take a look at this new insider information regarding the factions that we are going to see in the game.
Who's keeping you safe?
I do not need you to protect me.
Sure about that?
Now before we get started, I will say that this video contains spoilers only in the sense that I will be outlining the basic insider information regarding the types of characters in the game. As we, by no means, know everyone and everything that will be included in this game, it's futile to make such assumptions at this point. The key word here is type, as we are just looking at the 11 types of factions that we will come across in God of War Ragnarok. Also, just like the previous video, of which you can view here going over the insider information about the game's length, this is insider information and should be treated as such. This is by no means confirmed information for God of War Ragnarok and should be treated as potential insight as to what types of characters, creatures, and everything in between that we may meet during our final trek with Kratos through the 9 Norse realms. Ready? Alright, let's get started. This insider information was once again provided to us by Tom Henderson of Insider Gaming and contains 11 factions that we can see as detailed here on screen. The list appears to be alphabetized and reads in order as follows: Aesir, Beasts, Dwarves, Elves, Ethereal, Humans, Jotnar, Monsters, Hellwalkers, Seiðr, and Vanir. First, let's take a look at Aesir, which the information from Insider Gaming lists as follows. Described as the gods that rule the 9 realms. The Aesir gods are the gods that lived in Asgard, one of the 9 realms in Norse mythology. If I had one realm that I look forward to experiencing the most in God of War Ragnarok, it's gotta be Asgard. But what about you? Let me know below. Tangent aside, the Aesir gods are perhaps the most well-known of the gods that we have been introduced to thus far in Norse mythology, and include the likes of Thor, Odin, Loki, Balder, Tyr, and a bunch more. Known for their incredible strength and the defenders of Asgard, they are just one tribe of gods known in Norse mythology, with the Vanir gods comprising the other, and will be explained in more detail when we get to them at the end of this list. Next up, we have the Beasts faction, and are described as animals that roam in the realms as either predator or prey. We can expect to come across giant beasts as well as smaller ones, like perhaps feral wolves, and other wild monsters that would comprise the Beasts faction. These enemies were quite a common appearance in Midgard in the previous game, and we fought a good share of them in the other realms as well. From the looks of it in God of War Ragnarok story trailers and Game Informer videos, we will be seeing a much wider variety of enemies in God of War Ragnarok, and I would expect many of these larger enemies shown here in this trailer to be part of the Beasts faction. Next up, we have the Dwarves faction, described as the masters of forging legendary weapons and armor. The The much-loved and incredibly well-written Brock and Sindri are the dwarven blacksmiths that always happened to find Kratos throughout all of Midgard in the previous game, and proved to be key characters that had big impacts on the story. We know these eccentric dwarven brothers will be returning in God of War Ragnarok, and we also have a new dwarven character, Durlin, being introduced to the game as well. Svartalheim, a dwarven realm that stuns players with its beauty and vastness of dwarven civilization and technology, will be a new realm to explore this time around, and hopefully gives us more insight into the dwarves and their relationship to the other factions. Our next faction, Elves, is described as two factions of light and dark that fight to control the light of Alfheim. In God of War 2018, we came across these elves as we traversed a decent chunk of the realm. What we can find when we return to Alfheim in God of War Ragnarok remains to be seen, but regardless, expect to go head-to-head with these elves again in the realm, as one of the game's main bosses in God of War 2018 was indeed the Dark Elf King. The ethereal faction is described as ghosts and spirits that wander between the 9 realms. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we came across these spirits in God of War 2018, right? This potential enemy type could really change things up a bit and add some exciting new combat opportunities to debut here. Potentially, Atreus would need to shoot these enemies with an arrow type to illuminate them and make them vulnerable to Kratos' brute strength. Or perhaps a new weapon for Kratos is the only way to expose these new enemies' weaknesses. Let me know your thoughts about the ethereal enemy type below. Also, make sure to like and subscribe. Humans are described as scavengers. Now, I'm really excited to see humans potentially represented in this game, and in the God of War franchise as a whole, because that is one component of these games that I wish we saw more of. Seeing the humanity while all these powers that be wage their wars is something that could be fascinating to see play out. We saw bandits in the previous game, but it would be cool to see the developers take it a step further by showing human civilization in this new game. The Jotnar are described as the last giants that hide to pass down their knowledge following the genocide at the hands of Odin. The Jotnar are incredibly expansive and represents the giants of Norse myth. Note that not all giants are necessarily large in size, as depicted in many murals in God of War 2018, showing characteristics very much representing larger beings, and also more humanoid figures who appear much smaller. Some notable Jotnar are Surtur, the leader of the Fire Giants, and Kratos' own wife Faye, who was a frost giant. Monsters are described as the creatures of Norse myth. Perhaps these monsters are quite similar to those of the beasts we described earlier, but have a more notable relation to their roots in Norse myth, including trolls, mares, and the mighty Kraken. I love the new enemies we've seen in the new story trailers, and expect many more to discover when the game drops next month. Next we have the Hellwalkers, described as reanimating corpses from the overflowing souls of Helheim that are cursed to walk the 9 realms. These annoying enemies are immune to ice, rendering your Leviathan axe completely useless. Expect to see more of these creatures in the frigid wastes of hell in God of War Ragnarok. Our penultimate faction is known as Seiðr, described as humans that are corrupted by Seiðr magic. Seiðr magic is the kind of magic that Freya is exceptional at, the weaving of spirits and elements into existence. This faction leads me to think that we will be interacting with enemies who were humans that have been corrupted by the Seiðr magic, perhaps by being able to pull off some magical stunts of their own as they try to take down Kratos. The final faction are the Vanir, described as the gods that fought against Aesir and lost. The Vanir gods that we know and have heard of in God of War 2018 are, of course, Freya and her brother Freyr. These gods reside from Vanaheim, one of the realms we will be able to explore in God of War Ragnarok. This is another exceptionally intriguing realm for us to explore, as we can go and see the stronghold of the Vanir tribe of gods that is known for its serene nature. Whether it will be represented with beauty and lush nature in God of War Ragnarok is yet to be seen, but this realm is sure to have many amazing secrets and revelations into the war between the Aesir of Asgard. And that's my brief synopsis of what we could expect regarding the insider information of the factions in God of War Ragnarok. Remember to treat this information with a grain of salt, as none of this was expressly confirmed by the developers. That being said, I'm sure this list of factions has some truth to it, as this list of factions is something that was indeed quite similar to God of War 2018. And with God of War Ragnarok taking us to all 9 realms this time, I do expect most, if not all of these factions to be present in this game. Now, what do you think about these factions? Which ones are you most looking forward to experiencing? Let me know in the comments, and make sure to hit that like button if you found this information useful, and hit that subscribe button if you loved it. If you want some more knowledge of some of the characters we expect to see in the game, then you'll get your answers with my character guide linked here. Thank you all, good people, for the awesome support, and I will see you in the next video. Peace, my friends.